everyone, and welcome to Irini's Crochet Corner. In today's video I'm going to show you how to crochet the poppy flower. We're gonna need black yarn, red yarn, 4mm hook, this one, a pair of scissors, and a tapestry needle to clean up our ends at the end of the project. So let's get started. So to begin, I'm going to start with the black yarn, and I'll take the short end around my fingers. I'll wrap it once and then wrap it another time, second time, doing a letter X or doing a magic ring here. And then using the crochet hook, I'll go under the outer loop and above the inner loop, pull the inner loop out, make a twist, and then take off the two loops of my fingers and chain one. So here is my magic ring. If you have another way of doing it, feel free to do it. This is just how I learned it, so this is how I do it. But again, you can also skip that magic ring and do a chain 5 and join the first and last stitch together with a slip stitch. Again, according to your preference, start it however you want to do it. So right now I'm gonna start doing 10 single crochet stitches into this magic ring. So I'll go in, yarn over and pull a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through the 2 loops. This is my first single crochet stitch. Again, go into that magic ring, yarn over and pull a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through the 2 of them. This is my second one. So I'll repeat that sequence until I get 10 single crochet stitches at the end. For my 10 single crochet stitches, I'm gonna pull that short end of the yarn to close my magic ring, and then at that point I need to introduce my red yarn. So to join the red yarn, just bring my end here. So to change the color, while you're doing the slip stitch to join the first and last single crochet together, instead of using the black yarn, we're gonna be using the red yarn instead. This is how we change colors in the rounds. Okay, and at this point we can cut off our black yarn because we don't need it. So I'll just leave a tail and remove the rest of the yarn. Okay, now I'm ready to start working my second round. To begin the second round, I'm gonna chain 1 right there, and then into that same stitch where I did my joining, I'll go in again right there. I'm gonna be working around that short tail so I can decrease the cleaning process at the end of the project. So I'll go into that same stitch and do a single crochet stitch. So I'll yarn over, pull a loop, yarn over and pull through the 2 loops. So this is my first stitch. Now moving to the next stitch, I'm gonna do a puff stitch, chain 1 and a puff stitch. Okay, let's take it one step at a time. A puff stitch. So we're gonna yarn over, go into that next stitch, pull a loop, yarn over, go into that same stitch again, pull a loop, yarn over, go into that same stitch and pull a loop. Now I have 7 loops on my hook. I'm gonna yarn over and pull through all 7. I'll chain 1, and this is my puff stitch. So note that to close or to finish your bubble stitch, there is a chain 1 at the end. Now I'm gonna chain 1 extra stitch. This is a freestanding chain 1 stitch, and then I'll go back again into that same stitch and do another puff stitch. So yarn over, go in and pull a loop, yarn over, go in again, pull a loop, yarn over, and go in and pull the last loop. Now you have 7 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through all 7, and close it with a chain 1. So this is my second puff stitch. Now into that next stitch, I'm gonna do a single crochet stitch. So in the next stitch, we're gonna repeat the puff stitch, chain 1, puff stitch set again. Okay, next, always make sure that you're squeezing your stitches to the side just to expose the next stitch from the previous round. I'm gonna go in there and do my single crochet right here. Again, a puff stitch. And then into the next stitch we do a single crochet. Okay, one more time. We're gonna do a single crochet stitch, and then we have one last stitch right here. We're gonna do another set of puff stitches. Yarn over, pull a loop, yarn over, pull a loop, yarn over, pull a loop, yarn over, pull through 7, chain 1, then chain 1 more and go back there and do the last puff stitch. 2, 3, and then close it. Now we're ready to join both ends together, so we're gonna locate our first single crochet stitch, which is right there, and do a slip stitch to join. This is the end of my second round, and I find it so cute, like even at that stage without doing the last round. To start the last round, I'm gonna chain 1, go into that same stitch and do single crochet, and then on top of that puff where we did the chain 1 to close the previous puff stitch, I'll go in there and do another puff stitch. And without chaining an extra chain, I'm gonna start working another right away in that chain 1 space. So I did a chain 1 to close my stitch, but I didn't do an extra chain 1 as I did in the previous round. So I'm gonna start right away doing my second puff stitch for the round, and then I chain 1 to close it. Now I'm gonna chain that extra chain right here. This is where it should be located, and then into that chain 1 space I'll go again and do another puff stitch. And again, without doing an extra chain one, I'll go above that puff stitch of the previous round and do another puff stitch. And then into that next single crochet, I'll go in and do a single crochet. And we're gonna start again. So we do a puff stitch on top of the puff stitch of the previous round. Without doing an extra chain one, I'll go right away into that chain one space and do a puff stitch. Now I'm gonna do that extra chain one and go back into that chain one space and do another puff stitch. And then go into that stitch and do the puff stitch. This will be the fourth puff stitch for this set. And then go in here and do a single crochet. So here it is. So again, a puff stitch right here. A single crochet. So I'll do the last two sets and I'll meet you at the end to join together. So right now I'm working on the last puff stitch of the last set. And then I will join with a slip stitch on top of the first single crochet of the round. Here it is. Now I'm ready to cut off my yarn. I'll just leave a tail and just pull my yarn right there. I'm gonna clean up my ends. So this is the end of today's video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do, and I'll see you next time.